Have you ever hit a plateau in your revenue? I'm sure you know what I mean. Certain points throughout your career so far, you just hit a certain figure and you just can't get past it. Well, I want to talk to you about why that happens, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you hit that and how to break through it. So think about this. You might get to 2K a month. You might get to 4K a month. Like, I even work with coaches that are making 25K, 35K plus. They hit plateaus. I hit plateaus. What is a plateau? It's just a sticking point. It doesn't mean you're going to be there forever, but there's a solution. So I'm going to look through maybe a few slightly unconventional ideas just to stretch your thought process, and then a couple of conventional ideas that you maybe haven't thought about that actually are not that complicated when you come to think about it. But the first one I want to talk to you about is downsides. Now, this is one that I see so frequently. Now, if you followed me for any amount of time, you'll know that I'm very, very deep in personal development and operating as a high performer. And when I notice a lot of coaches, the relationship with money is a little bit all over the place. Whether you're earning 2K, 10K, 20K plus, at every different level, there needs to be a different level of relationship with money. So one of the first things that I'm going to address with you is downsides. This might sound crazy as a plateau issue when it comes to money, but for every level that you want to get to with your business brings with it a level of work. And subconsciously, in our brains, when we reach a certain point, the sticking point might be that you've got to do something to get somewhere. And in a lot of cases, in your brain, you start to go, getting to 5K was tough. I had to do more, speak to more people, push harder. I had to work more hours. And I know this sounds crazy, but in your head, you actually don't want to push past into a level of work that you know is going to be even more uncomfortable than when you are right now. It's understandable. So what you've done in your head is you've started to weigh up all of the downsides of driving revenue. Got to do more work, more calls. I'm going to have less time with my girlfriend or boyfriend. I'm going to have less time with my kids. And you start stacking these up. I know this because I've been mentoring for many, many years. I can spot it. The quality of my questions determines the quality of the client that I work with. So I listen. When somebody says, I want to make more money, I want to progress, I want to grow, I want to earn, I want a better business, and I go, great. Let me see if your actions are aligned with your intentions. Much the same with your clients. If your clients have got to get lean, or they want to get lean, and they're doing 3 training sessions a week, but you know they've got to step it up to 4. You know they've got to be a bit more disciplined with their nutrition. What do they start to do? They start to self-sabotage. They start not checking in on time, and they start not showing up to the training session that you're doing with them. It's because subconsciously they've not acknowledged there's more downsides than benefits to them of actually pushing on. So they go, I'm not going to be able to do this. I am going to be tired all the time. So for a while, until you identify this and until you help them overcome it, they'll hit a plateau with their training. You're exactly the same when it comes to your business. So the first thing is you've got to say to yourself, first and foremost, I've hit a plateau. Is it the fact that I know I've got to do a lot more work and I haven't identified to me the benefit of doing the work? If I push up and do more work, I'm undoubtedly going to earn more money. If I push up and do some more work, I know that I'm going to be able to work at that pace and ultimately give that to somebody else to do further down the line. If I do that, ultimately I'm going to be able to grow and I'm going to be able to afford the house that I've been saving up to do. Instead of me taking another 12 months to be able to save the money up to buy my house, I'm actually, if I put the work rate in, I'm going to be able to get the house in 4 or 5 months time. I'm going to be on holiday. I'm going to be able to buy my children things. Whatever it's going to be, I'm going to be able to invest in another hire. You've stacked up more downsides than upsides of growing. That's why, even though you say you want another figure, you've stopped yourself from taking yourself to that target. Now, the second thing to consider, very simple, delegation. You have to start thinking at this point. If you are flat out during every single day, let's say you're making 10, 12, 15K a month, right? And you're flat out every single day. You get to a certain point where if you kept working, again, stacking up the downsides in your head, you're not going to have any time. But not just that, you're starting to waste more time on low value tasks when the high value tasks are the things that actually bring in more work, for example, or more revenue. If you're spending a lot of time on admin tasks and your day's taken up talking to your clients all day, creating content, whatever it may be, and as a result of that, you're not going to be able to do as many sales calls. You're not going to be able to have enough conversations with people. You're not going to be able to book enough consultations in. With this, you're going to limit the growth of the business because ultimately you're favoring aspects of the business that are lower in value versus higher in value. You delegate a lot of your administration to people, you can put more slots in your diary to do sales. When you can put more slots in your diary to do sales, then you're going to be able to push lead gen because you're going to have space to fill these people up. It's bizarre, I know. But very often you, the business owner, the young entrepreneur, you sabotage the growth of your business because you haven't got the time. As soon as you make a hire, it completely changes the game because the hire that you bring in frees up time for you to then focus on the money-making tasks. Now, the third thing I'm going to talk to you about is scaling what's working. Very, very simple. If you're making 3 or 4 grand a month, what are you doing that's got you to that point? If you're making 10 to 15K, what are you doing that's got you to that figure? You double it. Simple. I've done it through my whole career. If you're speaking to 10 people a week, you speak to 20. If you're sending 50 messages a day, you work your way up to 100. If you're putting out content 4 days a week, put content out 7 days a week. If you're sending emails once a week, do 2 emails a week. If you're launching your program once every 5 or 6 months, launch it every 3 months. If you're spending money on ads and they're converting and they're performing, scale the ads, spend more money on the ads. It sounds very, very simple, but if something is working and you're making a certain amount of money from it, what you need to do is scale it. The fourth thing to talk to you about is adding in another marketing channel. Now, I market across Facebook, I market across Instagram, I market across YouTube, we have a podcast, okay? We have multiple different channels. We have email, and every time that we have focused on one and driven energy towards it, we've earned more. We've got in front of more people. Each different one serves a different purpose. Our Instagram very much is about attention and awareness. Our longer form content on YouTube and email and the podcast is a lot about nurture and building deeper relationships up with people. Did I start out with all of these different channels? No. Are you getting a certain amount of your clients from Instagram and doing very, very well from there? And you've hit a ceiling. You've scaled your outreach. You've scaled your conversations. You're starting to put your email marketing together. Then you start to scale your email marketing. You start to work on that aspect harder. What I'm not advising you to do is to say you need more marketing channels, you need a YouTube, you need Twitter, you need TikTok. What I'm going to say is if you've exhausted one and categorically you can say that it's not performing or it is performing but at the maximum level that you can put into it, then you can start to look at another platform. Now, number 5, this is really important. Play a bigger game. I know it sounds crazy. For you to break through a plateau, okay, you have to actually want that monetary figure that it's going to bring you, right? You have to want it. When it comes to money, you have to understand where the value and importance of money and wealth plays on what you want out of your life, the vision that you have for your life. Very often you say you want to go from 3K to 4K, from 5K to 10K, from 10 to 30K, but you're saying that, but the money aspect of it, it's not important to you. You're saying you want it, but you've not created a new life with it. You're not playing a bigger game. The vision hasn't changed. If you're in a 2-bedroom house and you haven't got a vision for investing that money to make a bigger return for you, you haven't played a bigger game, and you aren't thinking, well, I want to go from a 2 to a 4-bed. It's what I call stretch, okay? Your plateau in your revenue can very well come from just being quite comfortable. and not having something that's pushing you. You speak to entrepreneurs, you speak to business owners. They're always thinking about what's next. Where could I go? What could I do? What could I do to improve? Because their passion is progress. Their passion is growth. And it's not necessarily just growth in revenue. It's growth in multiple areas of their life, personally, physically, professionally. They're inspired by growth. They're inspired by progression. So every single time they kind of hit one area of revenue growth, the quality of their life, the investments that they make, the responsibility that they have changes. But very often the reason why you hit a plateau is very, very simple. The quality of the life that you have, the goals that you have for yourself have reached a level whereby the amount of money you need to have that quality of life is matched by the input to what you're having right now. The quality of my life, how I want to live my life, what revenue I want to make, what I want that to do for my family, what I want that to do in terms of hiring more people into the company, that requires a hell of a lot more money. And with that, I stretch my vision, I stretch my goal, I stretch it even further. And with that becomes necessity and urgency, because I placed in a massive amount of responsibility. If I just talk to you about this, at one ceiling point that I was making, let's say 5 or 6K a month, and I suddenly said I want a new car. Now that car was going to cost me £600 a month, for example. Fuel, insurance, etc. Probably £1,200–1,300 a month. I was only a bit younger. And that was a good chunk of my income. Then I was paying rent on a property and I was like, wow. Now I started to look that the kind of profit margin that I had out of what I was making every single month was smaller and smaller and smaller. And then I was like, but I still want to be able to save. I still want to be able to put it into whatever I was putting it into. So I then stretched it. I was like, I need to be making 10K. I want to be making 10K so that the money that I'm spending on the quality of life that I have and the car that I have isn't just sucked out of what I was making. I actually make the replacement of that. It's actually moved me forward in my life to the point where 9 times out of 10, when I pay for a flight, when I pay for a holiday, my necessity and urgency to pay for that drives me to bring in the revenue. So I have a necessity, I have a responsibility, I have urgency. So this final one for you is when you start to move the goalposts, when you start to play a bigger game, when you start to have a bigger vision for what you're trying to create, the urgency and the responsibility that you place upon yourself to make sure that that happens without doubt breaks you through a plateau with your revenue. Maybe from 2K to 4K, 4K to 6K, 6K to 10K, 10K plus and beyond. But without the stretch goals, without the necessity, without playing a bigger game, you'll probably end up sticking at a certain point, saying that you've hit a plateau, blaming many different things. But there's a big psychological game here. You need to get over that and open yourself up to the possibility, for example, of earning income and then being wealthy, right? There's a big difference between the two. So one of the most important things you need to do is identify where you've said to yourself what the big downsides are of driving revenue right now. Maybe screwing up your time, not having time with family and friends. If you've identified that to yourself in some way, shape or form, it'll block you having to pay, increasing your revenue. Delegation, hiring out to somebody else. Scale what is working. Add in more channels and play a bigger game. If you do those things, I know this sounds like a lot of people conventionally will, tell me the best marketing strategies to hit through a plateau. Quite a few of these are personal development. Quite a few of these are personal growth aspects that when you look introspectively to you, you can often be the limitation to you pushing through a income or revenue plateau. Now, if you found this helpful and you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you click like and subscribe. If you would like my help, my team's help in taking your business to the next level beyond the current plateau, then make sure you click the links in the YouTube description. If you are listening to this on iTunes, then all you need to do, if you want our help to either build your business to a consistent 5 to 7K months or push past and scale with us beyond 10K months, then all you need to do is go to the link in my bio on Instagram, send me a message, ask if you can speak to me, or click one of the links. You'll find out all the information there. For now, take care, and I'll speak to you soon.